Madison Reedy joins me now in the studio for Business News. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
The NZX is getting a new company and it's dabbling in cannabis, is that right?
This company is unlike any other that is on the NZX, the local share market at the moment. It is a hopeful medicinal cannabis company. Now, I say hopeful because it's only researching the prospects of medicinal cannabis. Gosh, I can't even say it. Such a mouthful, isn't it? Because obviously it's still illegal to sell that in New Zealand. Now, this company is called Cannasouth. Now, it calls itself a biopharmaceutical research and development company.
It's even more of a mouthful.
It is, but I got that one right, which is great. Big tick there. Now, this company, Cannasouth, has spent several years looking into and selling commercial hemp. Now, it's now focusing on the commercial development of cannabinoid compounds for medicinal purposes. Just a fancy way of saying medicinal cannabis there. Now, it plans to list on the NZX next month. Now, it wants to raise $10 million, and it's going to do that through a share offer of a placement of 20 million shares. Now, $5 million of that, so half of it is to be raised by selected investors, but the other half is open to the rest of the market. Now, I only know of one other medicinal cannabis company in New Zealand which has offered up its business and equity to the public. This was Hikurangi Cannabis, which is based in Ruatoria near Gisborne. Now, they did this through crowdfunding last year. They actually broke the website Pledge Me, if you remember, and they raised $2 million in 17 minutes. So one could imagine that investment demand for Cannasouth will be pretty strong. And as I was telling you earlier, Alex, the rest of the medicinal cannabis companies, there's a fair few of them around now, believe it or not. They've been funded by typically rich listers and top-tier investors. So it's quite interesting that this one is listing on the NZX, and obviously good news for the NZX itself too, given it's had a few companies jump ship of late with private equity firms circling and swooping up some of our top companies and taking them private, namely Trade Me recently. Also, we had Tegel taken by a Philippines company last year. So it'll be quite good and quite exciting to see NZX shake the dust off its listing bell.
Very good. And record profits everywhere. Yesterday was Fisher & Paykel Healthcare. Today it's Mainfreight.
Today it's Mainfreight. Mainfreight is our country's largest listed transport company. Now, it made a record net profit after tax of $137.6 million. Now, that's up from $107.7 million last year. Its revenue was up 13% to just under $3 billion there. Now, this is despite a $3 million write-down in discontinuing its European brand. It's obviously still staying in that market, but it's just renaming that to Mainfreight. It also had some restructuring costs in this result, and it also lost some sales in Asia. But that's pretty much the only bad news when it comes to Mainfreight lately. It's pretty much one of the most solid New Zealand-based companies. It operates all around the world, both here, Australia, Asia, the United States. It was actually started by two Kiwi guys, and they still run the company today. Now, interesting, the managing director, Don Braid, he is one of probably the most straight-talking sailors you'll ever meet. And there was a line within the commentary of its financial result today, which I thought summed up both his personality and the personality of the company Mainfreight pretty well. They said, while we will bask for a moment savouring this result, we remain very conscious of the task ahead. So they're pretty stuck to their goals there. Also, they are sharing their financial success as they typically do with their staff. They're giving out $27 million in staff bonuses from this record result. They're also going to lift the pay of their lowest paid staff in both Australia and New Zealand.
Good stuff to hear. A quick run through the markets.
The NZX Top 50 Index closed down tonight about 0.25%. That's a fall of 24 points to 10,123. The New Zealand dollar is buying at 65.5 US cents, 94.6 to the Australian, and 51.7 British pence.
Wonderful. Thanks very much. Madison Reedy there with the business headline.